This unlikely setting, far from the nearest airport and a place without many four-lane roads, in fact turned out to be one of the best ever. The whole day was a happy pageant of Norman Rockwell meets Alexis de Tocqueville. And somewhere there in the center where the debate was held last night is Jonathan Miller, Kentucky State Treasurer. Good morning, Mr. Miller.
Good morning, Brian. It's a real honor to be with you this morning.
Well, this story says it was the best last night. Do you agree with that, or should we ask you a question like that?
That story gives me a lot of pride here. We're so proud down here. Danville and Boyle County, where we're sitting right now, has put so much effort into this debate, and the people really rallied behind it. And I'm even more proud about Center College, its faculty, and most importantly, its students. You know, a lot of people have been complaining about how young people aren't active, don't get involved in public service, don't get involved in politics. I've been doing a lot of work in that area. But to see the campus, these students get so active, every one of them, just whether they're carrying suitcases around, or they're helping with technical equipment, or they're being ushers or escorts in the hall, they all got involved. They rallied behind this, and it really, truly was a special day for all of Kentucky.
Now, we're going to take some calls very quickly, but I want to ask you, where were you last night?
I was down on the floor behind me watching the debate, and then I got to go over to next door to witness my first, quote, spin alley, to see thousands of media swarming around elected officials like myself asking questions.
When did you work for Al Gore?
Well, I started working for Al Gore when I was 19 years old. In 1987, I, on a whim, decided to volunteer for a presidential campaign. I did the naive thing any 19-year-old would do, and I went with a candidate, not that I thought they could win, but the candidate that best reflected my ideas and my vision. And it turned out to be a very fortunate choice because I've seen Al Gore grow into an outstanding leader and someone who's going to make a great president. And it's great to say that I was there in the beginning and have been there since supporting him.
To be so blunt, how old are you as treasurer now of the state of Kentucky?
Yeah, I'm 33. I'm told I look quite a bit younger. When I first ran for office, we had commercials with my children in the commercials, my wife and children. I got two adorable daughters, and people would come up to me on the street and say, "Jonathan, those kids in your commercials are adorable. Where did you get them?" I said, "Well, they're mine." No, you're not old enough to have kids. So I'm told that I'm going to really enjoy that soon.
Let's go to the phones, and we'll continue to talk about the debates. Fort Worth, Texas, the George Bush supporter on the line. You're on with Jonathan Miller, the Kentucky State Treasurer, a Democrat. Go ahead, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
I've been watching all this going on, and the debates were great last night. It kind of reminded me, I expected Senator Lieberman to address, you know, one to address the other is my colleague from the other side. It was more like the Senate floor. But Gore has, you know, it's almost like watching the Clinton election, you know, where he went through all of these prevarications and all these altercations and yet still went through, and I'm beginning to wonder if the American people are just apathetic. I watched, I think that we talk a lot about stats, but we don't really pay attention to really anything. I think we're more of an entertainment age.
Thanks. Jonathan Miller, a lot of people they're confused about some of the numbers that everybody's using on this. Is there a chance that these candidates are using complicated numbers that are confusing people?
Well, I think the issue here, Brian, is that we've got a historic election here, and there are some very important issues to be resolved. And when it comes down to it, it comes down to on these issues like education and health care and prescription drug coverage and Social Security and tax cuts. The numbers really matter. We need to know. People need to know, for example, that George Bush's tax cut helps disproportionately the 1% of the wealthiest Americans in the country, and that millionaires get 30% of the tax cut. And I know we're throwing numbers out there, but those are very important numbers. Working class Americans, the working families of this country need to know that Al Gore and Joe Lieberman are going to best represent their interests, and instead of using the surplus to fund tax cuts for the wealthiest Americans, they're going to use it on programs like education and prescription drug coverage and making sure Social Security and Medicare are secure all the way through my generation.
Jonathan Miller was the valedictorian at Henry Clay High School there in Lexington, Kentucky. As we go next to Homestead, Florida, as they tear the set down there, it's a little noisy at Center College. Go ahead, Homestead, you're on the air.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. First, I want to say that when I woke up this morning, I kind of pinched myself to find out if I was real. After all, I'm calling from Florida, not Kentucky. But anyway, that's not my point. As far as last night went, as far as the debates went, I was very impressed with the civility, the dignity. It kind of was retro, and it brought the presidency, the whole election scenario back to former days. I'm not that old, but I do remember when there was some dignity in the presidency, and I guess we lost it, and that's part media's fault, and it's just part changing of the times. But as far as who won, I am a Democrat. I support the Democrats. I support Gore and Lieberman. I think Cheney really surprised me. I was shocked at his presence, except if you want to really, I guess it was kind of a draw on who won, except in the charisma part. Lieberman took it all for charisma, and I think that's a very important part of what's going on.
Jonathan Miller, if you were either Al Gore or George Bush, would you take a cue from what people are saying about last night's debate?
Well, I think that you really saw here a debate that was issue-oriented. It was very civil. I think you saw two people up there that seemed to get along pretty well, and the debate was focused on the issues that Americans care about. And I think that that really resonated. And again, I think while the styles might have been a little different, the focus was on the substance. And you know, I think that was much in the favor of Joe Lieberman, whose positions on the issues are more in touch with the working families of the country, more in touch with most Americans, and I think that makes a good debate.
Our guest has a law degree from Harvard and also an undergraduate degree from that school. We go to Columbus, Ohio. George Bush supporter, good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good, welcome.
I just wanted to touch on, you know, the Gore and Clinton and Gore administration have proven their track record. And what scares me is how naive some of the Americans are to still support it. Gore was just as much in on the shambles that this country is in that Clinton has gotten us into. And for people to vote for him just amazes me. You know, our education's in trouble, our military's in shambles. People need to wake up. We've got to get this pathetic administration out of office and get quality and get honor back in here and get these things straightened out. And it amazes me at how naive that a lot of these Americans are.
Jonathan Miller, a lot of people say the education system is in shambles, including politicians, but then everybody says it's always a local issue. What do you think the Vice President or George Bush can really do from a national standpoint with education?
Well, let me first disagree with the caller's notion that this country's in shambles. I think the country is so much better off than it was 8 years ago, and through Bill Clinton and Al Gore's leadership, we've made some great strides. But you are right, there always can be changes for the better, and education is one area where Al Gore and Joe Lieberman are going to be dedicating a lot of attention, a lot of energy. Al Gore called for universal preschool education. I've got a 4-year-old daughter, also a 6-year-old daughter. I know how important it is that all our children have the opportunity for preschool. Therefore, strengthening the public school system, not taking it out to support vouchers, but actually to improve the public school system. And importantly for me, as someone who having to save already for my kids' education, they're wanting to make a college education universal for all Americans, if at all possible, and that's why they support a $10,000 tax deduction for college education. They also want to make tax-free programs such as one that we just started in Kentucky, a prepaid college tuition savings program, that they want to make them completely tax-free on the federal level. I think those are the types of programs that are going to improve our educational system from the very youngest to our college students to adults who want to go back for more education.
Mr. Miller, let me ask you about that $10,000 deduction. What is your understanding as to how that applies?
How it applies, my understanding is that parents would be able to take that deduction for the first $10,000 that they would spend for the college or community college or university of their choice.
Now, in a town like this, and you know this town, you've been here, you know you have a Ways and Means Committee up in the House that has to pass on everything, every tax deduction on things like that. What are the real chances that something like that would go through a Ways and Means Committee?
You know, I think that's a really good chance. I think all Americans, Democrats and Republicans, can agree on the fact that college education is essential these days. You know, as we move into the 21st century, as we start the 21st century, people understand that an education after high school is so important to get a high-paying, high-tech job of this new century. But we also recognize that a college education has never been more expensive. Every 10 years, college costs double, and perhaps they could go up by even more by the time my children are ready for college. So anything that we can do on a bipartisan level to improve our ability for parents to afford a college education, I think Democrats and Republicans can share. Here in Kentucky, for example, the prepaid college tuition savings program that we just passed this spring passed unanimously, Democrats and Republicans joining together, recognizing that college education is important. And while George W. Bush has said that higher education is not a priority to him, Al Gore and Joe Lieberman are making this a top priority.
Let's go to Flint, Michigan on the Al Gore line. Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good.
I just wanted to say I really enjoyed the debate last night. I'm a Gore supporter, but I was really impressed by Cheney. It's a good thing he's not running for president. Bush might have a chance on winning. Also, my comment is going to be when Gore wins in November, I'm just wondering, with the Republicans being so losers that they are, what scandal they're going to dig up this time. That's all I wanted to say.
Mr. Miller, any comment?
Well, I don't know how to. I think that Al Gore has demonstrated that he is a man of great moral integrity and wonderful family man, a great parent. I've gotten to know some of his children. Joe Lieberman has been a role model of mine. Read a recent book that he just wrote in praise of public life, which I've insisted my whole staff read because it demonstrates a commitment to strong moral values and to public service. And I don't think we're going to see that sort of scandal in a Gore-Lieberman administration. What
would be your moment last night or during this debate festivities that you'll remember the most?
Oh, my favorite line, I think, of the whole debate was when Joe Lieberman answered back Dick Cheney's complaint that the last 8 years were not great years by saying that not only has Al Gore been a great president, he's been a great president big time, and I think that sort of language really resonates because it is true. We've had Al Gore's been a great vice president big time. The Clinton-Gore administration has done so much for this country. But there's a lot more to do, and that's why we need to get together, support Gore-Lieberman, and help them lead us into the 21st century.
What is your reaction sitting in the audience when you're told you can't clap or laugh or react in any way?
Well, I don't think it stopped people from laughing, particularly Senator Lieberman, who seemed so at ease up on the stage and making small jokes to Bernard Shaw, and I think people were laughing at those. It is hard when you hear something that you feel strongly about that Senator Lieberman says, and you want to clap, but I think people realize that it's important to project a civil debate, and I'm glad that the audience cooperated, and I enjoyed being part of the audience.
Those of you who are looking at this picture right now and see Jonathan Miller, we are having some technical difficulties. We got the audio, but the video is frozen. That's why you see that, and we'll hope to clear it up here in just a moment. Shadowgay, New York, you're next. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Obviously, the guy that's talking didn't hear Cheney's retort to Lieberman saying that Gore made it big time. And I just have two quick questions to shoot out. One is, the Democrats dish out all the blame to the Republican-controlled Congress. So can't they dish out a little bit of the credit for the good stuff, such as the economy? And second of all, Al Gore played Bush as a fool when Bush suggested that we asked Putin to recognize Kostunica as the people's choice. And Gore got the audience to laugh at him. And now that Putin is recognizing him as the people's choice, at least can't you give him a little bit of credit?
Thanks. Mr. Miller?
Well, I think that you saw in the debate, particularly last night, that when Senator Lieberman was asked if his ticket could work together with the Republicans. He talked about how he has worked with Republicans as a senator, and how Al Gore has worked with Republicans first as senator and later as vice president, and certainly did give credit where credit is due. It was a bipartisan effort that the balanced budget was passed under Bill Clinton and Al Gore's leadership, and the leadership of the House and Senate. That's how it came together, and that shows that Al Gore can lead a divided government if that's what's going to happen.
The real story dominating, as you're saying, the real story dominating the news is the one the gentleman referred to, and here's the New York Times front page banner headline: Yugoslavs claim Belgrade for a new leader. We go next to Wildwood, Georgia. You're on the air.
Hello.
Hi.
Thank you for taking my call. I've enjoyed this morning's program. I think I witnessed an oxymoron last night, okay? A polite, reasonable political debate. I'm a committed Democrat, and I don't mean rabbit, I mean I'm committed. And I have noticed not only the civility of the people in the debate last night, Lieberman and Cheney, but the civility of the callers, which is unusual sometimes on C-SPAN call-in shows. Have you noticed that?
Mr. Miller.
I've appreciated that these calls this morning have been very substantive, and I watch Washington Journal often, and sometimes they're less civil, but I appreciate that today. Maybe it's the mood that set last night by Joe Lieberman and Dick Cheney. I would prefer a dialogue in this country, both in terms of elections for president and in terms of elections for state treasurers, that was more civil and more substantive and more on the issues. And anything that we can do like last night to encourage that in the body politic, I think is going to help restore faith in our American democracy.
When you ran for Congress in 1988, and I guess you lost that race, is that correct?
98, right.
I'm sorry, 98. My sheet says 88.
In 88, I was a little too young to run.
Was it a civil, at the local level, was it civil?
You know, it's interesting. I lost in a primary. There were 7 of us in the primary, and it not only was a civil debate, but several of the people I ran against are some of now my closest friends. And when I ran for treasurer, a couple of them were some of my biggest supporters. So I think there is the opportunity for candidates to be able to conduct elections in a civil way, in a way that people get the issues, people understand what the different candidates are for, and there not be the animosity that sometimes comes across in the 30-second political ads. So anything that we can do to promote that, I think, will especially encourage activity and discourage apathy among people in my generation, the so-called Generation X and the Generation Y, that the students that of which some of them helped put this debate together, who are really frustrated at politics, frustrated at the level of discourse, and who are really hungry for a discussion of issues and hungry for candidates who want to talk about what really matters to Americans and it matters to young Americans. So maybe this last night's debate is the beginning of a new trend, and I hope it is.
Our guest also was Deputy Chief of Staff to Secretary of the Energy Department, Hazel O'Leary, and was Legislative Director to Representative Jim Cooper, a Democrat of Tennessee. And we're again sorry about the extraordinary noise behind our guest, but they're tearing down that set. And we'll hope that he can hear the next call from Colorado Springs, Colorado. You're on the air.
Hi there. I'm a real believer in truth and honesty, and I was just kind of hoping we could kind of get to a little bit of that right now. I think the biggest accomplishment of the Clinton-Gore administration is the fact that the Chinese can now target us with nuclear missiles. They could not do that 8 years ago, and I think that's a pretty big accomplishment. You know, three times in the past 18 months, the Chinese communists have threatened to toast Los Angeles. Do you feel pretty good about that? And also, I've noticed that a lot of the Democrats, they really promote this progressive income tax, that they think that's real good. You know, that's right out of Karl Marx. That's a communist theory. Do you feel pretty good about that? I noticed that you guys really promote the nationalization of health care. That's out of the Nazi manifesto, you know, nationalizing industries. That's what they want to do. Do you feel pretty good about that? You seem to be online with things that Karl Marx supports, that the Nazis support. Is that pretty much an American thing? And I wonder if you might give us one last thing. I'm always amazed by Democrats. I don't think they really understand what form of government do we have in this country. Can you please tell us what you think we have? What form of government do you think we have in this country?
Mr. Miller, so much for those friendly calls you were talking about.
I guess the level of discourse just changed. First of all, I find it offensive when people like to make comparisons to the Nazis, particularly this ticket. Hadassah Lieberman, Joe Lieberman's wife, was the daughter of a family that had to flee the Nazis, and to make comparisons between the Democrats' health plan and the Nazis, I think really is very offensive. But let me address the more general question. I think that it's very important that we have a progressive income tax system. I think most Americans support that, and that's why I think a lot of folks are now starting to move towards Gore-Lieberman, because they recognize that what George Bush wants to do is wants to cut taxes for the wealthiest Americans disproportionately, to make the income tax system less progressive. And really, the government should be focused not on helping the wealthiest Americans, who we don't want to knock wealthy Americans for working hard and making their money, but it shouldn't be geared towards wealthy Americans, geared towards giving them tax cuts. Instead, our resources, our surplus, should be focused on supporting things that working families need, like a good education we talked about earlier, health care that doesn't depend on HMO bureaucrats, and prescription drug coverage for all of our seniors, which the Gore-Lieberman health plan does and the Bush-Cheney plan does not.
By the way, is it 7:30 out there or 8:30?
8:30.
So you're on the same time. We're about out of time.
Yeah, we're on Eastern time.
Got another call for you from Anniston, Alabama, on the George Bush line. Good morning.
Yes, sir. Good morning, Brian. Happy 20th. I, too, found the debate civil. In line with the last caller, you gentlemen guessed there, the phony $10,000 tax deduction Al Gore promotes for tuition is similar to the phony Hope Scholarship that President Clinton promoted. If you're on financial aid at college, you're not going to get either one. 90% of the people are that attend college. If you get a Pell Grant, you do not get a Hope Scholarship. If you borrow money for college, you're not going to get Al Gore's $10,000 deduction. Just like to point that out. I get tired of these Democrats trying to cater it to us middle class, push forward these so-called programs that are really thin air.
Thanks. You agree with all that, Mr. Miller?
No, the caller is mistaken. And I encourage folks to, because we don't have time to go into real detail, to check out Al Gore's website. That's algore2000.com to find the details. But this $10,000 college tax deduction is anything but phony. Most Americans are saving most of their resources, if they have children, to make sure that they can send their children to college. It's the most important thing that Lisa, my wife, and I save for our kids. And to have that $10,000 tax deduction would go a long way to help make college affordable for all Americans. There's nothing phony about that.
Last call, Lansdale, Pennsylvania, on the Al Gore line. Good morning.
Good morning. Just a quick asking for you to comment on 3 quick points. One being that Lieberman's assertion that Gore would spend more than twice as much as the Bush proposal on armed services was never disputed by Cheney last night. Secondly, that there's a great piece by Jim Brady examining Governor Bush's record in Texas on guns this morning in the Philadelphia Inquirer. And thirdly, CNN ran a great piece debunking a lot of the story attacking Gore for making up the Sarasota school story, showing that the principal, on further interview, admitted that there were weeks and even days that people had gone without desks.
Thanks. We got to go. Mr. Miller.
I think what the caller said was accurate. I think something else that we need to mention about the debate last night is that Secretary Cheney refused to rule out that Social Security benefits could be cut by the Bush-Cheney plan. So we learned a lot last night, and I hope Americans will take that to the polls with them, and will vote for Al Gore and Joe Lieberman.
Jonathan Miller, you going to run for governor in a couple of years?
Give me some time, Brian. I'm really enjoying being state treasurer. We can't wait to put through this prepaid college tuition plan here in Kentucky, and I really enjoy getting across the state and coming to Danville and traveling around the state and meeting folks, and we'll see what happens in the future.
Say, did they make a pilgrimage to that Henry Clay Memorial out there in the cemetery at Lexington?
As a graduate of Henry Clay High School, very proud of Henry Clay's leadership in the country over 100 years ago, and his home in Ashland, it's called Ashland, it's in Lexington, is very much visited, and it's a beautiful place. And I encourage all your viewers, now they've gotten a taste of Danville, to come to Central Kentucky, to come to Kentucky. We've got some of the most beautiful countryside here. It's a great place for tourism, for vacation, and come on down. We'll give you some good hospitality, and we'll enjoy giving you a good time here.
Treasurer of the state of Kentucky, Jonathan Miller, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks so much, Brian, for having me.
We'll be back with Alan Williams of the Kentucky Republican Party after we look at Joe Biden and Alan Simpson in the spin room last night.